Did you know that women were regularly locked up in mental asylums during the 19th century, even if they weren't mentally unstable? Because women had very few rights during the 19th century, such as not being able to vote and not being able to own their own property, they were entirely beholden to their male relatives. If their male relatives thought they were displaying behavior that wasn't appropriate for Victorian women at the time, they could be shoved into a mental institution to get them out of the way. This is exactly what happened to Elizabeth Packard. Elizabeth was born in 1816, and at the insistence of her parents, when she was 26, she was married to a Calvinist minister named Theophilus Packard. He was 14 years older than her, and she said that he was cold and domineering. Despite this, they had 6 children. For a short period, they lived here in Illinois. Theophilus was extremely strict with his religious teachings, and it seemed as though Elizabeth disagreed with some of his beliefs. Apparently, one morning at church, Elizabeth reached her breaking point. When her husband was giving another sermon, she stood up and said that she'd had enough of his teachings. She left and crossed over to the Methodist church across the street. To her husband and some of the congregation, this was seen as evidence of insanity. Elizabeth's husband arranged for a doctor named J.W. Brown to come to the house, pretending to be a sewing machine salesman in order to talk to his wife. Of course, the doctor sided with the husband, and he said that one of the reasons for his diagnosis that she was insane was that she showed a great dislike of him. Theophilus, therefore, decided to have his wife committed to a mental asylum against her will, which was allowed at the time. Elizabeth was forcefully committed to the Jacksonville Insane Asylum for 3 years. During this time, she was regularly questioned by doctors, and she maintained that she was sane, which, of course, she was. Thankfully, when her son was 21, he was able to petition the courts to get his mother released, and she was released in 1863 and allowed to go home. However, her horrible husband kept her under house arrest, locking her in their house, nailing the windows and doors shut so she couldn't escape. Elizabeth managed to get word out that she was imprisoned, and the case went to trial, where she had to prove her sanity. She won the case, of course, because she was not insane. She immediately separated from her husband, founded the Anti-Insane Asylum Society, and campaigned for women's rights for the rest of her life.